I want to introduce you to the concept of objection handling. We'll come back to this over and over again, but we'll introduce the concept now and then apply it to lots of different situations that we see throughout the process. So first of all, we need to define what an objection is. Now, throughout the recruitment process, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to ask people if they're happy, if they understand, if they want to move forward, and some of the time, people are going to say no. Now, a no at this stage in the recruitment process isn't actually a no. An objection is defined as a request for information. So at this stage, they haven't got enough information to want to progress. They don't understand, they don't believe it's right for them. They need to fill in the gaps of information in order to get someone to want to continue to move forward. And that could be a client or a candidate. Now, every objection is founded in a lack of one of three things, or it could be more than one. Those three things are desire, belief, or understanding. If one of those things is missing from either your candidate or a client throughout the recruitment process, you will fail to ultimately close the whole process. So the candidate will not take the job, or the client will not offer if they're lacking desire, belief, or understanding. Put another way, desire can be whether or not they want the candidate or the candidate wants the job. Belief can be how they feel about it, and understanding is how they think about it. You have to think about this carefully, and throughout the recruitment process, you have to be asking all the time, do you want this? What do you think about it? And how do you feel about it? And if you're getting the correct answers to all those questions, and it makes sense to move forward, it's highly likely when you move towards the end of the process and the client offers the candidate will accept, because you've got all three bases covered. Again, if one of these three things is missing, you will not close the deal. So, how do we handle those objections? A very, very common and well-trained objection handling technique is called feel, felt, found. I'm going to talk about this structure a little bit, but I'm going to advise you not to use it. The reason you shouldn't use it is because it is so heavily trained. In my early stages of recruitment, I used this technique, and I had a candidate say to me, the old feel, felt, found objection handling technique, because they had been trained it as well. So if you use it in a clumsy way, people will know what you're doing because it's a very consistently trained objection handling technique. The basic principle, however, is that you tell an individual you understand how they feel. Other people that you've dealt with have felt the same way. But what we've found is if they do X, Y, and Z, the situation improves. Now, this structure is very commonly used, but it is very effective. However, you cannot use the words feel, felt, found. We actually use a slightly more complex objection handling technique, which lengthens out the process and puts in a case study. So it makes the candidate feel like it's more of a normal conversation. Let me explain that to you in a little bit more detail. First of all, you're going to acknowledge the objection. Tell someone that you're glad they've brought it up, or you're pleased they've mentioned it. So if a candidate says, I'm not looking for a job right now, you would say, of course you're not. I'm really pleased to hear that. Now, this sets the person off base slightly. They're not expecting that answer. An average recruiter would put the phone down at that point. But it piques the candidate's interest, and they're likely to want to listen to what you say next. I'll come on to how you use this with clients later in the training. Let's stick with the candidate case study for now. Second of all, you're going to empathise with their current situation. You're going to say something along the lines of, I understand that the best possible candidates are going to be looked after by their current employers, so they're not going to be actively looking for a job. So it's great that you're happy where you are, because that says to me that you're probably a very good candidate, the type of person that I'd like to have in my network. So right now, the candidate is starting to think, maybe this recruiter is a little bit different to any other recruiter. Maybe it is worth my while talking to this recruiter. And then we're going to do a midpoint close. So we're going to ask the candidate, just imagine, for instance, I was able to build a relationship with you now, understand what it is you're looking for, and then at some point in the distant future, maybe 3, 6 months or a year's time, I contact you with an opportunity that gives you everything that would be involved in your dream job, plus 20% higher salary than you're earning right now. Would you want me to contact you about that opportunity? And again, because every candidate is passive and they're all interested in improving their situation, most people would say yes to that question, or variants of yes. It's a midpoint close question where you're asking for a yes or no answer. If they say yes, you then give them a case study. So you would explain. Let me give you an example. I just placed someone a couple of weeks ago who I first met a year ago. They weren't actively looking at the time, but they agreed it was worthwhile building a relationship with a recruiter. Now, if the candidate is a hiring manager also, the only relationships they'll typically have with a recruiter would be ones that are placing people with them. It's very difficult for a hiring manager to talk to recruiters that are placing people with them about opportunities for themselves without having a conflict of interest. So you can use that to build a relationship with candidates that are passive that you're headhunting. The next stage then is to move towards a close. So if you've explained, I placed someone who it took a year of a relationship, I advised them on their salary, what bonuses to aim for, how to manage their career, and then when the time was right, I had an opportunity that was perfect for them, we discussed a move. They already knew me, we already had a relationship, and they felt comfortable making the move. So the best time to meet a recruiter is when you don't need one, rather than when you're actively looking for a job, because then finding the right recruiter to represent you can be difficult. Next stage is to minimize the downside. So what you're asking someone to do here is to make a small commitment, not a big commitment. We're not looking to move jobs at this stage. What we're asking for is a meeting. So we're going to suggest taking a baby step. So let's minimize the downside and say something along the lines of, look, why don't we just meet for a coffee, take 10 minutes of your time, I will come to you and we'll go wherever you normally go for coffee, I'll even buy you the coffee. You'll talk to me for 10-15 minutes and explain what it is to be your ideal role and a little bit more about your background and your interests. And then either the next time you hear from me, it'll be with a perfect opportunity, or it'll be when you have a question that you want to ask someone who you trust, who you've met, about your career. You'll know me and I'll be happy to answer that question to the best of my ability. Or I will contact you when I've got the perfect opportunity. So there is no risk to you. You take the same habits, go to the same places you normally do, grab a coffee, I'll pay, and you'll get some great advice. How does that sound? At that point, you want to probably finish off with what's called an alternative close, where you would suggest, I'm near your office on Monday or Tuesday next week, which one's best for you? Or I can do any time on Friday, how about the morning or the afternoon? By giving an alternative close, they'll tend to pick one rather than say, oh, let's arrange it for later in the week. You need to get a commitment at this point, a specific commitment to a time to meet in order to move the conversation forward. That's that definition of closing again. Every conversation ends in agreed action or commitment. And if you can get the commitment from the candidate who gave you the objection to meet at that point, it's highly likely that they'll follow through. If you leave the conversation then, it's highly likely they will ignore you in the future. So we finish the conversation with agreed action and commitment, and then we follow it up with an email confirming the time and the date we're going to meet and where we're going to meet. That structure you can apply to multiple different objections, and you can apply it to client and candidate objections, and we'll come back to it again and again. Just as a recap one more time, the three things that could be missing in order for an objection to result in a deal not closing: desire, belief, and understanding. Whether somebody wants something, thinks it's the right thing, or feels it's the right thing. Again, we'll come back to that over and over again through the recruitment process. You'll become very familiar with that concept.
Hello?
Hi, Harry. Seth Davis over at JT Marlin. How you doing this morning?
Fine, thanks.
You got a call from an associate broker of mine last month, and I just wanted to know if you enjoyed the information we sent you.
What information?
Yeah, well, if you get as much mail as I do, you probably brushed it aside, but more importantly, you made a commitment to get back to you. Listen, I'm presenting you with an investment opportunity that I think you're going to find very interesting.
Yeah, I'm not really in the market for that right now.
Tell me, Harry, are you married or are you happy?
I Actually, I've been married for 10 years.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, 6 years for me. So, listen, are you playing the market at all?
Well, I don't know about playing. I do own some blue chips. They were actually wedding gifts from our friends in New York.
Well, listen, Harry, we have an explosive situation going on right now. A pharmaceutical company, Ferrotech, has a drug called Paratin in the 3rd stage of FDA approval.
What's it do?
That's a good question. That's a very good question, and this is the best part. It helps premature babies develop properly.
That sounds like a good drug.
It is. It is. So tell me, those blue chips you own, what have they done for you since you got married?
Not that much, really.
Well, you see, we deal in stocks that really move.
Oh, yeah. They really move.
I'd love to show you what I mean, and I can do so on a relatively small investment.
Look, I really can't buy anything right now. My wife and I are getting ready to buy a house this month, and we're trying to save every last penny.
Look, Harry, I don't care how much stock you pick up. I just want you to test me out. I want you to judge me on the percentages I show you. Obviously, I show you 30 or 40%. No matter how big or small your position is, you know, you're going to get pretty excited about my next idea, right?
Yeah.
Of course you would. You'd be handing out my business cards, wouldn't you? Right? Do this. Pick up 100 shares. It's the absolute firm minimum, all right? If I show you 3 or 4 points on the trade, it's not going to make you rich. On the same token, if the stock doesn't go anywhere, you know, you're not out in front of your store with a cup in your hand.
No, that's true.
Look, Harry, the truth of the matter is, I could sell you a lot more than just 100 shares and feel completely comfortable about the trade. But I'm asking you to start small, just to prove what I can do for you.
All right. All right, let's try it.
Great. So should I send the confirmation to your business or your home?
Yeah, I need to talk to my wife.
No, you don't need to do that, Harry.
And I'll call you right back.
And, you know, I'm going to lunch in
No,
5
I
minutes.
need to talk to her first.
Tell me, Harry, you're at work right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what do you do for a living?
I'm a purchasing manager at a gourmet foods company.
So does part of your job involve making decisions?
Of course.
And so when you're making one of these decisions, you call your wife and ask her what you should do?
Of course not, but that's a little bit
But
different.
that's different. How's that different? It's your money. You earned it. Besides, you know, all you're doing is investing it. I'm not selling crack here, Harry. I mean, you know, she's only going to be happy when she sees that you made a wise investment for the family. Just think of the flip side. When your wife does the shopping, does she call you from Pathmark to find out if she can use a coupon for Captain Crunch?
Now, come on, that's not being
No,
fair.
I know.
'Cause-
Look, Harry, I'm just trying to make a point here. Look, we're not talking about a lot of money here. And just think what she's going to say when you bring home a big fat check because you had the foresight to see a good thing coming.
All right, let's try it.
Good man, Harry. Look, you made a great decision, all right? Hold on a second.